you guys are anything like me, you guys love cars. When it's time to purchase a car, a lot of us are faced with a decision. Do we purchase or do we lease? Or do we finance or do we lease? I've had a lot of people ask me that question. My wife and I are actually up against that same question right now. I've had this on my list of videos to make for a long time, so today we're diving into that and we're doing that right now. What's up, YouTube? Thanks for joining me for another one today. My name is Jared, this is RedRacer Video, and as evidenced by my shirt, I am a car guy. This is a car channel. I do car vlogs. I've got a 2016 1SS Camaro. I've named her Lola, and she is bad to the bone, and I have done sales, service, finance. I've ran body shops. I've done it all. I actually owned a detailing company for about 2.5 years, so I've done a lot of car stuff. That's why I call myself the car guy. So if that sounds like something you guys would be into, please, guys, go down, smash the subscribe button, also hit the bell next to subscribe. That way you guys know when I have new videos that come out. But today's video, like we already said, we were talking about purchasing versus leasing today. And like I said, I sold cars for a good deal of time, and there was a lot of those questions that came about. It seems like just about everybody, when they go to get a car, is considering purchasing. Sorry, my kids are coming in now. Almost everybody that purchases a car at least considers leasing, I think. Not everybody. And we're going to get into some of the reasons why I think the people that don't consider leasing should at least consider it and why they maybe don't consider it. So without further ado, we'll take a quick peek at my notes here and we'll get right into it. There are two types of buyers, guys. There are people who are buying a car that drive a car forever. Some of you watching this video may be those people and maybe know those people. They buy the car and then they drive until the wheels fall off. And I get it. I understand why people want to do that. I understand the logic behind it. We'll get into some of that logic here in a minute. The other people are, I think, the majority of people these days. And those are the people that buy a car with the intention of maybe keeping it 3, 5, 6, 7 years. So those are kind of your two main groups of buyers, at least from my experience when I was selling cars and kind of what the numbers indicate. I worked in service, like I told you guys, so I think I got to see a good deal of, the people that did keep their cars long term and what those cars actually cost them. Something to keep in mind, and this is keeping in mind, I was a service advisor at a Honda store. I was also a service advisor at a Chrysler store. That is why I do not like Chrysler products at all and will never support Chrysler ever again. I saw the behind the scenes stuff and saw the way that Chrysler treated people, and I just am not a Chrysler guy because of that. I'm jaded. I'm jaded. I don't know how else to say it. But getting back to it, I get sidetracked. I was a Honda guy. I was a service advisor at Honda for a number of years, and I got to see the ins and the outs, and also got to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And this is the deal, guys. Even on a Honda, so we're talking about Honda right now, and I'm doing that to keep this based around cars that are reliable. I don't want to take like the worst case example and then say, hey, it costs thousands of dollars to keep these cars on the road. I thought I would use a car that is reliable, that is known to be reliable, and that would be on the lower end of the cost of ownership scale. So having said that, even if you own a Honda and you buy it and you drive it and you want to drive it and own it for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you're going to spend some money on repairs. You just have to consider that. I know we all want to be optimistic and think that the cars are never going to cost us any money, but the long and the short of it is that cars do cost money. It just depends how much money it's going to cost. But using a Honda as the example, 100,000 miles on a Honda, you've got some expensive maintenance. If it's a 4-cylinder, it's less. But if it's a V6, you've got a timing belt, water pump, valve adjustment, spark plugs. You've got a sizable repair list that comes up or a maintenance list that comes up. If you go to a dealer, a reputable dealer, and I would recommend doing that, and that's not to knock any of the smaller shops out there. I know there are people out there that know what they're doing. I, for one, though, I've always been a specialty guy. If I'm going to have a Camaro done or modified, I take it to guys that just work on late model GM, Camaros, Corvettes, Chevrolet trucks, things like that. Just like if I'm a Honda guy, I'm going to take my car to a Honda dealership or somebody who works primarily with Honda, somebody that specializes in Honda. Having said that, if you take your V6 Honda at 100,000 miles to a Honda dealership or a Honda expert, you're probably going to spend somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 on the repairs that I told you about, if it's a V6. If it's a 4-cylinder, obviously maintenance is a little less. You've got less plugs, they're chain driven, so there's no timing belt. There's ways that, the repairs will be less or the maintenance will be less, but there's still going to be stuff that comes up. Honda recommends flushing all your fluids at 30,000 miles. So trans fluid, differential fluids, brake fluids, those are all going to come out. Not crazy repairs, but you know, anywhere from $70 to $100 a piece on those fluids. Those things adds up. You've also got, but anything that's rubber in a car over time will wear out. So, you know, 5, 6, 7 year mark, you're going to run into just how long I've been out of the Honda game. You're going to have trailing arm bushings that wear out. They start to crack and erode away, start to leave a little bit of play in the suspension. Hang on, I got to get my dog. He's barking at me. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. I told you guys I got to do dad stuff all the time, so it's dad stuff. Dad to a dog, but dad stuff. So getting back to what I was saying, trailing arm bushings or A-arm bushings, they wear out over time. It leaves a little bit of play in the suspension, can start to cause some noise, can start to adversely affect the alignment. So just any of that kind of stuff's going to wear out. Also things in the car that are rubber, like transmission mounts, motor mounts, those start to cost money. I mean, you got to replace those things. They're not cheap. If it's a V6, you could spend $600 or $700 replacing engine mounts. If it's a 4-cylinder, you might only end up doing a front or a side, but still, you know, a couple $100. So there's just things that still are going to come up on a car that's going to cost you money in the long term. So the people that are going to buy them and drive until the wheels fall off, that's awesome, and you don't have a monthly payment, but there is going to be stuff that gets you. There's going to be things that happen. You do run the risk of a transmission going out, even on Hondas. I've seen transmissions go bad. So things happen. You know, you're going to have expenses. So one of the big arguments for a lease is that you typically only have the car for anywhere from like 2 to 4 years. It's almost always under warranty, and you're not going to have any of those expenses. None of that stuff's going to sneak up on you. It's just not. Purchasing is great if you stroke a check, in my opinion. If you're going to pay it off right now, not have any interest that you're going to have to pay, those people are the people I think that should purchase a car, if I'm being perfectly upfront with you. If you're going to finance the car and you don't know for a fact that you're going to own that car long term, I would not purchase it. There's a couple of reasons why I say that. One, you've still got an annual percentage rate or an interest rate, so you're still paying interest for as long as you're making payments. That interest starts to add up. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is that right when you buy that car, right up front, you pay all the sales tax on that car. So you buy a $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 car, $90,000 car if you're buying like an Escalade or a truck or something like that. That's a lot of interest. I mean, you're going to get tagged, and you pay that all up front. So you get smashed right when you buy the car. You go to sell that car a year from now, you're buried in it. You just are. You finance the price of the car, the sales tax on the car, the dealer dock fee, anything else you purchased on the car, whatever other fees the dealerships charge you, and we won't get into that. That's a whole nother video. But if you try to sell that car a year from now, you're toast. You're just toast. You're not going to be able to sell it. You're not going to get out of it. Give you an idea, give you an instance, and this is kind of transitioning back over to leases and kind of the misconceptions of leases. Almost every customer that I was discussing leases with when I was selling cars, they would say, well, I don't want to lease because the miles are going to hurt me. Or I don't want to lease because I don't want to be stuck with the car for 3 years. Couple of things. Mileage on a lease, we'll get into that first. Mileage on a lease only comes into effect if you turn the car in at the end. So if you at the end of the lease give the keys back and say, I'm done with it, that's where your mileage could hurt you. But that is only one of the 4 scenarios that you could happen at a lease. At the end of a lease, you're either going to buy it, sell it, trade it in, or turn it in. And if you buy it, the miles don't matter. If you sell it, the miles will matter on your sales price, but you're not getting tagged like 25 cents a mile for every mile you went over. You're just not. Trading it in, again, if the higher miles, the little bit lower your trader value is going to be, but your trade value is only going to be vastly affected if you have like tons of miles on the car. So I don't agree with that necessarily. If you're going to just turn the car in at the end again and just give them their keys, here's your car back, those miles are going to hurt you. 25 cents or 15 cents a mile, you go over like 20,000 miles, it's $5,000. I mean, that's going to suck. So yes, the mileage could hurt you if you turn the car in at the end, but the chances of those miles really hurting you are really not as great as I think everybody starts to think that they are or has been taught to believe that they are. The other thing, people think they're stuck with a lease. You're not stuck with a lease. You're not stuck with a lease at all. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, you are less stuck with a lease than you are a purchase if you want to get out of it a year from now. Case in point, my wife, we bought her a 2018 Traverse Redline. Brand new. They literally had just gotten it, just cleaned it, and just put it out front. I saw it. It was black with red trim. I'm a black and red, obviously. My Camaro's red with black. My shirt's red with black. My face is red. I like red and black. So we bought it. We owned it. We've had it now a year and a half. and my wife is thinking maybe it's time to downsize. You know, the payment's huge, and we don't use the third row seat, and we kind of just, you know, we like kind of changing cars. So we have thought about selling her car, and we probably will here coming up soon. Her payoff right now on her lease is 39 something. Guess what market value on her car is right now? 39 something. So right now, a year and a half into her 3 or 4 year lease, I can sell her car and get out of it without losing any money or without coming up with any money. So the stigma that you're stuck with a lease is not always true. And again, this is one of the things I have notes on right here. Not all leases are the same, okay? If you buy a car that is one of the most heavily depreciated cars on the market, then yeah, the chances of you selling it a year in are gonna be a lot less great than, you know, the chances of you not being able to do that, or being able to do that rather. So here's the deal. On a lease, it's just like a purchase. The things that are gonna determine your lease payment and determine the value at the end and all those kind of things, there's basically 3 things. You've got the price of the car, you've got the term of the lease, 4 things. The price of the car, the term of the lease, the money factor, which is basically like the interest rate, and then the residual, which is the agreed upon value at the end. So what you and the dealership agree that the car is gonna be worth at the end. Having said that, you guys don't get to determine that. That's determined by the manufacturer and the lease company. But those are the things that determine the value of the lease. So not all cars are the same. Not all cars devalue the same or depreciate the same. Not all cars are as sought after. So there's a lot that plays into it. But I really think that for the vast majority of people out there, they should really at least be considering a lease. So just to paraphrase real quick for you guys again, the reasons why I love a lease: you don't pay all your sales tax up front. You only pay sales tax on each payment you make. So you're not paying all the sales tax right up front like you would with a purchase. The interest rates on leases are typically pretty aggressive. I mean, they're usually on par with the interest rates that are available on purchases at the time. The ability to get out of a lease a year and a half in, as long as it's not a car that depreciates crazy fast, you can actually get out of a lease a lot of times easier than you can a purchase, because on a purchase, you financed all that sales tax up front. You now owe that. And for that reason, you're probably buried or upside down in the car. So I get that everybody's scenario is different. I get that all leases are different. All cars are not the same. But again, in my opinion, the only people who should really be considering or only considering a purchase are the people that can write a check today for the full amount, not pay any interest, because then you kind of recoup some of the money that you spent up front by paying all the sales tax on the car up front. So in today's day and age, with people keeping cars shorter and shorter periods of time, I think leasing is a lot better idea for a lot of people. One last thing I will hit on, and I just thought of this because of my scenario. If you're somebody like me and you plan on spending tens of thousands of dollars in modifications on your car, I would not lease your car. You're not a lease candidate. You're definitely not going to want to turn that car in at the end. You're probably not going to try to sell that car in the short period of time. And if you're going to, at the end of the lease, you're going to end up wanting to buy it anyway. So for you, you'll probably end up spending more if you lease it than buy it at the end. It's not crazy more, but it's going to be more. So if you modify your cars, don't lease it, just buy it. But outside of that, I think every one of you guys watching this video, you should probably consider leasing. You really should. And again, look at the leases, look at the residual, make sure all those things line up. But leasing is a lot better idea for a lot more people than I think a lot of you guys realize. So I think I hit on everything. I may have missed a thing or two. I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain. It's just one of my, it's kind of my MO. It's my deal. I'm a little bit of a space cadet. But I think we nailed all the stuff that I have in my notes here. I hope you guys like that video. Please, in the comments down below, let me know what questions you guys have. I know you have questions because I did this for a long time, like I said, and I would spend sometimes an hour with people going through all this stuff. So if this 10 or 15 minute video wasn't enough for you guys, I totally understand. Like I said, in the comments down below, let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what I missed. Let me know what questions you have. Before you leave, please smash that like button, tell your friends, and I will catch you guys in the next RedRacer video. Thank you so much, guys.